Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. I welcome the opportunity to speak on this debate on an issue that really matters to my constituents and members across the House, the cost of living increases that we're seeing. But contrary to some of the contributions we've had today, the reality is the challenges we face in the UK are the same that other major economies are facing of global inflationary pressures as the world economy rebounds after COVID. That is undoubtedly causing a strain on families and their ability to pay bills, and it's right that we support those most in need. But I think it bears repeating that the best way to help people is to support those who can work to move into jobs. And our record is strong, with more than 400,000 people on payrolls now than prior to the pandemic beginning, and we need to help them to gain skills to move into even more highly paid roles. And as a Conservative, I want to see people keep more of the money that they earn. And to help the lowest paid people do that, we're increasing the national living wage to £9.50 an hour from April for workers aged 23 and over. That represents an extra £1,000 a year for a full-time worker. Nearly 2 million families on low incomes will benefit from £1,000 a year through the cut in the universal credit taper and increases to the work allowances. However, we also need to redouble our efforts to help people without a job to move into one of the 1.2 million vacancies across the country. In my North West Norfolk constituency, there are 1,800 people on unemployment-related benefits. And although this represents a lower rate than the national average, it still represents untapped potential for individuals. And employers in my area, whether in food processing or other parts of the economy, are crying out for staff. So I welcome the newly launched Way to Work scheme to match people to roles that exist in North West Norfolk and across the country. And it's also important to recognise the direct support through the £500 million Household Support Fund to help low-income households with the cost of food and other essentials, as well as the increase in the value of Healthy Start food vouchers that the Minister referred to. And now the motion refers to sustainably high-quality food, precisely what Norfolk excels in producing. And now we're liberated from the bureaucratic, inflexible common agricultural policy. We're free to reform our agricultural sector and champion British produce internationally. And I know from my discussions with the Minister that the food strategy that we look forward to seeing soon will have much more to say on that, on procurement and on food security. Now, turning to the motion's reference to the energy crisis, it claims that Britain is uniquely exposed to a global gas crisis. What a load of nonsense. The clue is in the word actually used in whoever drafted the motion, global. Other countries face the same challenges from the rise in wholesale gas prices that we're facing. 80% of the increase in the energy price cap here comes from wholesale prices. But the motion's silent on Labour's moratorium on nuclear power, which meant that our nuclear fleet has not been replaced as rapidly as it should have been. I was advising the then Energy Minister in the Department of Energy and Climate Change when the deal for Hinkley Point C was being negotiated, and that power station is on track to open in 2026. And with the financing legislation passed in this House recently, we can unlock further investment in the new nuclear build that we need. Happily.
I think my honourable friend for giving way. He talks about nuclear power. It's quite interesting, actually, because I wonder if you can recall in 1997 in the Labour manifesto when they actually said we can see no economic case for the building of any new nuclear power stations. And you think now, moving on 20-odd years, they regret that?
I do remember that, and we're dealing with the consequences of that. 8 of the advanced gas reactors are coming offline in the next few years, and we haven't got enough capacity to replace that rapidly enough, and that's why the work that BEIS is doing to bring forward the regulated asset base model to get financing into nuclear power is so important. And what did the government do in the face of these increased energy price caps? It came forward with a £9 billion package to help reduce the impact for people. That's the political choice that we made on this side of the House. And 88.75% of properties in my North West Norfolk constituency will receive £150 off their council tax bills in April. Then in October there will be a £200 rebate through energy bills. And for people in my area living off gas grid, that will be paid through energy bills so they can benefit too. However, an issue facing those people is steep increases in the price of domestic oil, which is not subject to a price cap. A constituency who contacted me last week said that before the pandemic they were paying 9.6 pence per litre, and now last week they filled up at 55p a litre. So I ask that the Minister communicates to BEIS and asks whether they can consider a referral to the Competition and Markets Authority to address those concerns about increased costs. Furthermore, councils will get £150 million to give targeted support to people not getting council tax. And of course, others have spoken about the Warm Homes discount, winter fuel payments, cold weather payments and other support measures that exist. In contrast, the Labour Party proposed a regressive tax cut that would benefit the richest households most. The challenges that individuals and families are facing are real. However, today, once again, we've heard arguments that pretend we can in some way be immune to the global pressures driving these increased costs, that somehow we alone can keep energy prices artificially low. The British public are wise and they realise that is fantasy economics. In contrast, this Conservative government will continue to help people with the day-to-day costs they face and drive economic growth, jobs and investment.
Ian Lavery.